make sure I'm still in focus. I wouldn't quite consider myself a zombie superfan. I do enjoy some zombie media, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's my favorite genre of, well, anything really. So what happens when you take a beloved zombie related IP and you take a hack director and a bunch of terrible writers and you take it over to Hollywood? Well, you get the Resident Evil movies. Now what happens when you have some talent behind it? You get?
The last of us, bro! Survival edition.
HBO's The Last of Us is a 9-episode adaptation of the critically acclaimed 2013 video game of the same name. It stars Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie as the two make their way across the country surviving encounters with other survivors and the infected. It's the same story as the game, so I don't really see a need to delve deeply into it. I'll mainly just be covering things I liked and disliked about it while also addressing some of the changes they made here and there. I'm going to be mentioning a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, then why are you watching a full season review at this point? Like, come on. At first, I was really on the fence about the season only being 9 episodes long. I figured the show was going to have some drastic pacing problems, especially since the episode runtimes are pretty inconsistent. Now, after watching the season, I'm pretty happy to say that wasn't really the case at all. Season 1 does a good job at tackling the major plot points and character dynamics of the game pretty faithfully. On top of that, more content was added that enhances the source material. In episode 1, for example, we get an extended look at the start of the apocalypse. We see Sarah, Joel's daughter, go about her day until complete chaos breaks loose, which then transitions to the point where the game starts from. It's a damn near shot-for-shot recreation. I think seeing how the world falls apart prior to the apocalypse can be just as interesting as the event itself. We see more scenes like that throughout the first half of the season. Everyone on the cast does an amazing job, but the standouts are easily Pedro and Bella. We spend the most time with these two, so really understanding why their characters worked was extremely important to convey on screen. Pedro as Joel is perfect casting. He's able to portray a gruff, hardened survivor while also capturing this innate fear Joel has about opening up and connecting to people. Bella does Ellie justice in her own right. A decent amount of people were against her playing the character because she doesn't look like Ellie in the game. I mean, sure, there is no resemblance, but the appearance of an actor doesn't take away from the acting ability. She nails Ellie's rebellious attitude with a mix of vulnerability to a T. Also, I want to shout out the Black Queen known as Merle Dandridge. She plays Marlene in both the game and in the show. Once again, another amazing casting choice. When I saw Marlene in the game, I didn't think much of the character, but after seeing her on screen, I don't know what it is, but she just had a certain presence to her.
Give me a chance, give me a chance, give me a chance.
Speaking of beauty, let's talk about cinematography. Every shot of a landscape you see in the series looks breathtaking. One thing that comes to mind right now is from episode 4 when they're driving on the road after coming from Bill's compound. We see various wide shots of the environment, and man, scenes like these tell you so much about the world without even having to verbally say anything. Even after saying all that praise, I do need to stress that it's not a perfect adaptation. It has some flaws that aren't too major, but I still feel like I should mention. Firstly, I feel like the infected in the show are a mixed bag. Instead of the infection being spread by spores like it is in the game, here it's spread through tendrils. In the show, the tendrils act as a network that connects the infected to each other, so if you were to step on a tendril, the infected would come running and start swarming you. Now, that's a pretty cool concept that I think adds a bit more danger to them, but outside of episode 2, we don't really see this again, at all. As a matter of fact, we don't see many infected encounters after episode 5. It's explained in the show that the infected only hang around cities and don't wander into open fields and forests too much. I guess that makes sense, but it still doesn't sit right with me, especially in parts of the story where they play a role in things like Ellie's encounter with David. More appearances wouldn't have been a bad thing. All the Kathleen stuff I could have done without. We spent more time on her and her group than what was needed, all for them to get packed up in the following episode. The actress is fine, but I didn't buy her as this commanding leader the writers wanted her to be seen as. She's an original character made for the show too, and it just seemed like kind of a waste of our very limited showtime. Those are really my only 2 gripes I can think of for the season. All around, it was a solid viewing experience. Episode 9 surprised me. It's the shortest episode in the season with debatably the most important part of the story, the hospital. I didn't think they would pull it off, but it delivered on all fronts, from the performances, the hospital sequence, and the very end with Joel lying to Ellie about what went down. This episode is probably my favorite in the season overall. So yeah, The Last of Us is definitely worth watching, whether you're a fan of the video game or just want a cool show to check out. We can definitely add this to the list of great video game adaptations out there, and I'm glad. Hopefully Season 2 will keep up the same momentum and maybe even have surprises along the way. In the comment section, tell me what you guys thought about the show, what were some things you enjoyed about it or didn't like about it. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.